Oh no, not again.
That's right, a commander with a Federation naval rank of Admiral, an Imperial King no less, has landed in a ship worth over 100 million credits and is killing all your staff, while they look around for a 10 credit adhesive to glue an upgraded scope to their 100,000 credit assault rifle. They fly away with their super glue and you're left with a problem. How are you going to get your agricultural plant back up and running?
How am I going to get my plant up and running?
How are you going to find staff at short notice?
How am I going to find staff at short notice?
How are you going to deal with all those bodies?
There's bodies everywhere, and they've stained the carpet.
Wonder no longer. Call Aries Crime Scene Cleanup Services.
Hello, I'm Harry from Harry's Mine. After a sudden increase in robberies and murders by commanders since 3307, I've gained valuable expertise in cleaning up bodies, recruiting new staff and restocking stationary lockers. Now you can benefit from my experience by signing up to our Crime Scene Cleanup Service subscription plan.
That's right. For only a small monthly fee, when your settlement alarms are activated, our rapid response cleanup crew will be dispatched, along with our patented Cadaver Scoop 150. The Cadaver Scoop 150 can be mounted to surface reconnaissance vehicles and skimmers to make tidying up your settlement a breeze.
Wow, the bodies are gone.
Our recruitment team has potential new employees on standby across the galaxy, ready to fill your vacant roles in security, logistics, administration, processing, and more.
My plant's operational again. Thanks, Aries Crime Scenes Cleanup Services.
Aries Crime Scene Cleanup Services. We'll have your settlement as good as new before the next ship arrives. Cadaver Scoop 150 disposal bags sold separately.
Is your life like this? It could be like this.
Astrogator Tours. Put some excitement back in your life. Book an adventure in the Lave Business Directory. Now.
What? Hey, Commander. Welcome to the Pilot's Lounge. Hope you like the place. Yeah, it's a great spot for commanders to socialise, sharing their stories and collaborating on projects and missions for the future. We get all kinds in here, from explorers to pirates, mostly harmless to elite, but they all leave that at the door when they get here, safe in the comfort of the bar. Oh, where's my manners? What do you have to drink, Commander? Come down to the Pilot's Lounge, where the drinks are always flowing and the conversation is plentiful. Find us on Discord and flying all over the galaxy.
I was overseeing the delivery of some slaves to the starport in Exios, and a cleaning robot had just washed the floor, but not left a warning sign. I had to run after a slave that was escaping, and I slipped and fractured my wrist. I was delayed for 10 whole minutes while the Medicomp repaired the damage. My time is billable. Can I get compensation?
Yes, you can.
I was on a regular trading run back to Sol, and it was my job to repaint the outside of the ship. I was given the wrong kind of EVA clamps. Nothing bad actually happened, but it did give me a fright. Can I get compensation?
Yes, you can.
I was checking some robots through customs when I distinctly heard an official call the robots clanks. I was deeply offended, even though I'm not a robot myself. That's their word. You're not allowed to use it. Can I claim for moral outrage?
Yes, you can. At Cowell and McGrath, we are now taking any kind of legal action. No case too small, no justification too frivolous. If you've been lightly inconvenienced, embarrassed, or in any way put out, then someone should be made to give you money. Don't be a stupid clank.
Excuse me?
Cowell and McGrath, taking on any case, playing the percentages.
My dad taught me a lot of things. Good things, like how to avoid a Thargoid shutdown field. Always have a rebuy. And don't forget your limpets. But what he really showed me was a good gun in the right hand can win any fight. It doesn't matter what you're wearing, doesn't matter who you are. The best tool wins out every time. Don't take a risk, take the best. Kinematics. The Kinematic L6 will destroy anything on foot. High explosive, high damage, the only way to remove a target. Load up, lock on, take them out, and say goodbye. Make those bodies pile up just like Dad.
New from Azimuth Biotech, it's Tickle Me Thargoid. Tickle Me Thargoid is fun for all the family. Teach your little anti-Xeno commander the difference between an Orthrus and a Cyclops, a Basilisk and a Medusa.
Count the hearts. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a Cyclops.
Teach them their weakness and how to exploit them.
Now rip out the hearts. One by one. I don't want to.
Do it. Using the tool. Do it. Now stomp on its face. Smash its face in.
I've got them.
Tickle Me Thargoid. Available now from branches of Lave Toy Depot and other retailers.
Lost young hearts, living rough, so vulnerable, gathered by a hangman's rope. With apocalyptic words they charm their souls, locked into the hype charts, there's no hope. They just wish to see the bubble burn, to meet the makers of their fate. The front row seat to watch humanity's fall, any chance to leave was much too late. So the Fargo will arrive, bring glory to the soul. Please take our soul tonight. Purified in spirits, lightened by daily drugs injected oh so deep. The order talks of meeting God, yes God, an appointment one must really keep. Fasting then removed all resistance, the chapter lay inside the crypts. They willed their deity to come meet them all, to take their full excitement to meet their god. Not what the ignorant refer to as the Thargoids, but an omniscient and most holy being. To meet their maker. And on that day they believed that all of humanity would be destroyed, but those who would heed the truth would ascend into the inner light and be transformed.
Waiting for things to load. Waiting for things to load. Sitting in your chair, waiting for things to load. Waiting for the manifest to update. Playing old space games. Waiting for things to load. You just want to get out there and explore space. See the galaxy. Blaze your own trail. But you're in your chair, waiting for things to load. Wait no longer, Commander! Automated cargo drones will load cargo into your ship in no time. Automated cargo drones, available now in most starports.
Dreams. Humanity's dreams. The hope to live among the stars. From early times, we've gazed up to the heavens and wondered if one day we could travel there. Maybe even live there. The Brewer Corporation has made this dream a reality, constructing intricate cathedrals of metal, circling numerous planets across thousands of systems in our human bubble. Why stay rooted in a gravity well when you can be free in orbit, free to dream, free to live, and one day to become a commander and be free to blaze your own trail? Brewer Corporation, the first step into the unknown. Come join us. Be free.
Attention, attention. Second Technician Chris Forrester to the docking bay. The vending machine has broken. I repeat, Second Technician Forrester to the docking bay. The vending machine has broken. Attention. Yes, Commander John Harper. You are clear of the launch. Passing cable with us. Attention. Attention. Medical officer to the docking bay. Medical officer to the docking bay.
Galnet News Digest, 15th of June 3309. We read the news so you don't have to. In this week's news we consider the federal presidency, and we wonder if Azimuth can come back from the dead.
President Hudson stands down in August. Who will replace him? The candidates are Hudson's deputy, Jerome Archer, the architect of the Proactive Detection Bureau, a law so popular it has driven at least a dozen systems out of the Federation. Then there's Shadow President Winters of the Liberals, who does at least have a portrait, something that dramatically increases her chances of winning. There's Calico Zach Rackham, the ex-pirate and wealthy businessman who wants to bribe his way to government. There's write-in candidate LCU No Fool Like One, whose main election promise is to declassify the location of Raxler. But realistically, The most likely outcome is some sort of bizarre plot twist that sees Hudson able to take office again, despite all the laws against this and despite him not actually running in the election. In galactic politics, nothing ever changes.
Azimuth Biotech, the company run by Head-in-a-Jar Salvation, the company responsible for twice attempting genocide on the Thargoids and responsible for getting them to invade the bubble at the end of last year, thinks it can kickstart itself once again by encouraging commanders to use Aegis technology to gather Titan tissue samples, which it will then use to create a superweapon to defeat the Thargoids. Given that its last two superweapons were the mycoid virus and the Proteus wave, the galaxy must wait with bated breath to see what suicidal nonsense Azimuth and its brain-in-a-bottle leader can come up with next. Even more worrying are the rumours that Barmy Boffin Salvation has interfaced with the Guardian constructs, and that the next thing he'll do is bring an army of Guardian artificial intelligence to wipe out the Thargoids. He probably won't care too much if humanity ends up as collateral damage in this potential galactic extinction level event, which could easily leave gourd mollusks as the most intelligent creatures left alive. The Fargod cult will be delighted.
And that's this week's Galnet News. Galnet News, we read the news so you don't have to.
through with watching the chat of other streamers on Twitch. It's like I'm never gonna make it and I hate to bitch. My channel hasn't turned out quite the way I want it to be. I want some cool emotes and a ton of awesome mods. 1,000 people watching me play COD. A huge land room that's big enough for 10 plus me. I need 1,000 follows in every stream. A HD camera with a big green screen. Gonna join the 60 FPS club.
From the creators of luggage limpets and passenger lounge suitcase shuttles comes the latest revolution in passenger transportation, the passenger cannon. For centuries, circus performers have perfected the technique of being fired from a cannon. Paired with our new memory gel passenger pod impact absorption technology, you too can speed up disembarkation times from your liner by up to 250%. No longer be limited by pad sizes and excessive docking fees with the passenger cannon. But how does it all work? First, all passengers will be issued with a passenger pod inflation suit during transit. On approach to your passenger's destination, simply fill the inflation suit with our patented impact-absorbing memory gel. Then, once in a stable position in proximity to the destination, effortlessly slide them into the disembarkation chamber ready for launch. The passenger cannon is now available in both gimbaled and turreted varieties to make aiming elementary. Make your liner one of the top 1% in the galaxy. Buy a passenger cannon today. Warning: passenger cannon must not be operated on high-gravity planets or near geysers.
3 days after their return to Dex Island, Varian, Isra, and Ren have settled back into the well-worn routine of home. Morning lessons, followed by afternoons and evenings on the training quad. Already they are beginning to assert authority over the troops as commanders of the Dex military. Varian, Isra, and Ren may be returning to normalcy, but there is one person in the palace who considers normalcy to be an illusion, behind which there are cracks to exploit, levers to insert, and pressure to be applied. Listening to The Ancestors, the third Dex Legacy interlude, starring Tiffany Clare as Valentina Vardy, Chris Gregory as Nathaniel Dex, Kamara Elliott as Varian Dex, Kelsey Griffin as Isra Dex, Charlie Richards as Ren Dex, and Emily Inkpen as Auto, with music by Dr. Alan Stroud.
What is it? I'm busy.
President Dex, Tristan instructed me to give you this.
What is it?
It's a recording, sir.
A recording of what?
I've not heard it, sir.
I've never been a fan of his cryptic side. He's due back tomorrow. Why couldn't he give this to me then?
I don't know, sir. He didn't say.
Of course he didn't.
Would you like me to leave, sir?
Why?
If it's private.
You're an agent. It doesn't matter what you hear, because if you repeat anything, Tristan will shoot you through the head. I've seen him do it.
As have I, sir.
Or worse. And you know all about that as well, don't you?
Yes, sir.
And you don't want that, do you?
No, sir.
Stay. If I have a response, I don't want to waste time calling you back in here.
Yes, sir.
Recording decrypted.
Auto. Play recording.
Ren, what are you reading?
History. Ancestor stuff.
It happened thousands of years ago on a planet we'll never go to. Why do you care?
Because it's interesting, Varian.
Explain.
Auto. Pause.
Playback paused.
What is this?
Surveillance, sir.
He's recorded Varian, Isra and Ren. I thought I told him... Auto. Resume.
Okay. We were sent here in giant seed ships, with more data than any one person could ever get through in a lifetime. 10,000 people and some animals were left with all this knowledge, except the plans for interstellar travel. So, they didn't want us going back. Why? Why send us here? Did they want us to do things differently? Because from what I've read, we're doing everything more or less the same way here as they did there. It's all war and territory and money. Maybe if we'd not had the seed data, we wouldn't know all that, and we'd have built society differently. So that just raises more questions. Did they want us to live the same way, or learn from the data and be wiser than them?
Maybe they didn't think about it that much, Ren. Maybe they just thought the seed data would be useful.
But they didn't want us to go back?
If they'd given us the knowledge, it's the first thing we would have done, right? We'd have wanted to send people back, but they wanted us to establish ourselves here on SP-714. So they made sure we wouldn't be able to do it.
It's mean. The ship reached orbit, jettisoned all the seed vessels and self-destructed. There was no way for us to replicate the technology.
So you're saying the ancestors were mean?
Well, from what I've read, it wouldn't be out of character.
What I don't understand is why it took us so long to get our tech together. We knew so much about it when we first arrived. So how come we were just surviving for years?
We had the know-how, but none of the materials. We had the seed vessels, but the metal and parts in those didn't stretch far. Until we found raw metal and built mines, we couldn't replicate anything. It took years to explore far enough to discover them. The seed vessels wouldn't fly again once they'd landed. Another parting gift from the ancestors, so we had to build boats. But there weren't many forests around Hearth, so the settlers had to wait for the stored seeds to take hold before they had wood enough to build. Then they made it to Vosnor and Vasnek and stuff picked up. Lots of metal there. Of course, if they'd landed in Chakri, they'd have progressed much faster and been able to line their ships with gold. That was bad luck.
Did they have gold on the ancestor planet?
Yes, but they didn't have Platon or Caprin or Rodon or Gossin.
Weird. Everything here is Platon or Caprin.
Yep.
Is anything here better?
Yeah. Gossin.
Shame there isn't much of it.
Gossin comes from space debris. We pass through a small asteroid belt once a year, and that's where it comes from. About 500,000 years ago, there was a lot more of it, and enough fell to form a thin layer in most parts of the world. We get all the Gossin we can from those deposits. Most of what's left will be in the ocean and on our moons.
Also, pause.
Playback paused.
Auto, make a note. Discuss oceanic Gossin extraction with OSA.
Note saved. Discuss oceanic Gossin extraction with OSA.
Resume.
On our moons.
Well, we can't get them from the ocean.
We could, but it would be difficult. Just like we don't know how to get to our moons yet. Isra? Varian? Do you remember anything from our lessons?
More than you might think.
Surprise me.
There was one bit that always interested me. The settlers went into the ocean around Hearth and tried harvesting the Goa colonies. Why would they do that?
Because on our ancestral planet, all plant-based life was considered food. It didn't even occur to them that the Goa could be sentient.
Strange. There's whole areas of ocean we can't touch because it's Goa territory.
Yes, and that's a good thing. Once we learned how to communicate with them, we learned a lot about the history of this planet and the ocean ecosystems.
Like what? Why is it I learn more when I'm just talking about this stuff than when I have to sit in that room and just pretend like I'm listening?
Because nothing sticks unless you're choosing to learn it. Stop pretending to listen and it might sink in.
Okay, so what about the ecosystems?
All right, but I'll be doing a quiz on this tomorrow, so pay attention. The evolutionary progress of this planet are at an earlier stage than they were, or are, on our ancestral planet. But the pattern seems to be the same. Life starts in the oceans, then moves on land. Then life evolves and diversifies until you've got a whole load of different species. On our ancestral planet, there were a lot of different types of animal that had already been through a couple of large-scale extinctions. On SP714, evolution was at the amphibian, bug, and reptile phase, with much more happening underwater.
What's an extinction?
An event where a natural or unnatural shift in climate or something causes entire species to die out. I mean, that's a single extinction. A mass extinction is where that shift causes lots of species to die.
Have we had one of those in SP714?
Not until we arrived, and almost caused one by attacking the Goa colonies. When early communications with the Goa were being translated, settlers started digging to find evidence of a mass extinction, but they couldn't find any.
Auto pause.
Playback paused.
What's an extinction?
Extinctions are ancestral history, sir.
Yes.
In Chakri, nobody learned ancestral history, sir. Most people learnt settler history onwards.
Really? Well, Varian, Isra and Ren aren't most people. Auto resume.
But by landing here, we messed it up, didn't we? We interrupted evolution.
Yes, we did. Big time.
And the Goa weren't happy.
No. But they haven't evolved to live above water yet, and their physiology makes it impossible for them to fight us. They realised that pretty quickly and settled on claiming distinct territories. Territories we'd probably have moved into if they weren't so good at defending themselves.
Which is how exactly?
Oh, I know this. They can change the chemical composition of the water around them until it's almost pure acid, and it's the same acid found on aquatic eggs. So all sea creatures are drawn to it and go mad defending it.
Correct. Plus, a few more tricks.
See, I know things.
Fortunately, there's enough planet to keep us busy for now. But if our dear ancestors are anything to go by, one day there won't be, and the Goa colonies will be hit hard.
I also know they like the equator, warm waters. That's why Thos is almost completely surrounded by Goa territory.
And why they were so angry about the Rome bomb. Half of the Rome coastline was a Goa stronghold, and it was completely wiped out by that missile. There were heavy losses above and below water that day. Apparently, the Goa know Nathaniel's name, and they are not a fan of his work.
But Ren, it wasn't Nathaniel who launched it.
No, Varian, but Dex Island did build it. And there's a lot of people who think he knew how destructive it would be and chose not to tell Xenos before they launched it.
And the Goa are among them?
It would appear so.
I doubt Nathaniel cares much about that.
Nope. I don't think he cares either, but he should.
Why?
Because, Varian, this is their planet. And one day they might decide to take it back.
How would they do that?
They're a sentient species of aquatic plants that can change the chemical composition of water at will. You think they won't work out how to weaponize that? Or find some other way to do us harm? No. One day the Goans will comfort us. They'll do it in a way we won't expect. And we won't stand a chance.
End of recording.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
And I'm supposed to be interested in this?
Tristan suggested you hear it, sir. He seems to think there's cause for concern.
Oh, there's cause for concern. Where did Tristan place recording devices?
I believe this was a test, sir. The device is positioned in their private rec room.
Their room here in the palace?
Yes, sir.
Listen to me very closely. You will go up to those rooms immediately and remove every recording device you know about, and conduct a thorough search to ensure none are left behind.
Sir?
This is a presidential order. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, sir, of course.
Then why are you still here?
May I ask why, sir?
What's your name?
It's Valentina, sir. Valentina Vardy.
Well, Valentina Vardy, I've known your boss for a long time. He doesn't exist in the black and white zones, only the shades of grey. But my privacy is not a grey area. If he starts planting surveillance anywhere in this palace, it's only a matter of time before he's planting devices in my rooms as well. And I won't have it.
Yes, sir.
When did he place this?
He instructed me to place it yesterday afternoon, sir.
Good. Stop this before it starts.
If he commands me to place another, I will have to do it, sir.
That won't be an issue. I'll talk to him.
Yes, sir. May I ask, aren't you interested in what they were saying?
Do you see that door?
Yes, sir.
That's the point at which I stop caring.
You don't care what people do or say?
Why would I? As long as they do what I say.
What if they were doing or saying things that could harm you?
Well, that's what you're for, isn't it? I have a house, a country, and a world full of spies, and Tristan tells me what's worth knowing.
And what Varian, Isra, and Ren say isn't worth knowing?
Why would it be? I own them. They're the property of Dex Industries. They have no rights, no freedom. I don't care what they talk about because nothing they say can cause me harm. If one of them malfunctions, I will end them, which I can do at the push of a button thanks to Devek and Osa and their tracking chips. Valentina, why are you still here?
Sir, are you not worried about the Goa?
Am I worried about a species of semi-sentient aquatic plant life the settlers almost massacred by accident? Certainly not.
Very good, sir.
Of course, if they do start hurling acid at me, I can be assured of your protection.
Yes, sir. I live to serve.
Good. Now go. Make sure my children don't see you. I don't want them to be under any illusion that I care or give credit to anything they think and say.
Yes, sir.
You just heard The Ancestors, Interlude 3 of The Dex Legacy. In that episode, you heard Tiffany Clare as Valentina Vardy, Chris Gregory as Nathaniel Dex, Kamara Elliott as Varian Dex, Kelsey Griffin as Isra Dex, Charlie Richards as Ren Dex, and me, Emily Inkpen, as Auto, with music by Dr. Alan Stroud. The Dex Legacy is written by me, Emily Inkpen, and produced by Alternative Stories. If you enjoyed that interlude, please like, subscribe, and comment. It really does help. If you would like to support The Dex Legacy, you can at ko-fi.com/The Dex Legacy Audio Drama. Links can be found at www.thedexlegacy.com. At thedexlegacy.com, you will also find scripts for every episode and interlude, so if you like to read while you listen, you can. There's also a page dedicated to the cast and a whole load of bonus materials, including maps, a gallery of character portraits, and interviews. You can also sign up to the Dex Legacy newsletter for a secret link to me reading The Dark, a short story and prequel to the audio drama. As always, we would like to give a huge thank you and shout out to those of you who have liked our episodes, left comments and reviews, and subscribed to the show. All of this boosts our visibility on podcast platforms. We'd also like to thank those of you who have visited our Ko-fi page and donated to the series so far. Every donation goes straight into bringing you more from the world of Dex. So thank you.
Is your life like this? It could be like this. Like this. Warning, depressurization alert. Warning, depressurization alert. Warning, depressurization alert. Warning, depressurization alert. Warning, depressurization alert.
Astrogator Tours. Put some excitement back in your life. Book an adventure in the Lave Business Directory. Now.
Some ships don't feel the same. Some fights always go one way. Core Dynamics, bringing you strength, power, and performance. The chance to fight the good fight and to destroy the competition. From the Eagle to the Federal Corvette, we can offer you an advantage in every skirmish, every battle, and every single fight. Because we know how to win every time. For the Federation.
town. Thought it was an apex, but nobody was around. So I got back to my duties, then I walked into the lab. Thought I saw the Reaper leaping madly in the black. If this is my time, then I'm ready. Is this the day that I die? Or maybe more. So I checked back on my data and headed to the hab. Had a drink, stood by the table, and felt a gun stuck in my back. If this is my time, then I'm ready. Is this the day? Was it Vasquez from the other settlement? She swiped me once on Tinder, didn't return her calls. I was busy refining stuff, didn't think it would matter at all. But I know she had a temper, orders for a gun. All these murder hobos now, leaving around and having their fun. Come on. One step nearer, and down falls the curtain. Here comes the curtain.
Attention. Second technician Chris Forrester to the station gantry. The vending machine has broken. Repeat, second technician Forrester to the gantry. The vending machine has broken. Attention, attention. Medical officer to the gantry. Medical officer to the gantry.
Swift, sleek, powerful by design. Zorgon Peterson gives you the edge, the strength, and the confidence in any battle. With 4 medium hard points, 1 huge hard point, you have all the firepower you need. 6 utility mounts lets you max your shields any way you want. Engineer those thrusters for infinite boost, and then turn, twist, and keep the enemy in your crosshairs. You choose the engagement, you win the engagement. In a third alliance, everyone fears you. It's the meta, because there's nothing better.
Before I also went off and died. Tasty, tasty cannibalism.
I'll be the least likely to die. He died first.
Yeah, I've never before discovered plants.
We here at the Lavian Centre of Dubious Science have had enough of those idiotic numbskulls polluting your airwaves with nonsensical utterations, mindless articulations, and downright vacuousness. Our premier linguistic experts, psychologists and scientists have collaborated for years to find the perfect antidote for such silliness, and are proud to present Professor Pebcap's Miracle Elixir. Our closely guarded recipe is designed to target the sensibility triggers nestled within the frontal lobe of the cerebrum and gently caress the cerebellum, meaning that clumsiness, terrible decision-making, lewd comments, and rare but fun rants are a thing of the past. Place 1 drop under the tongue when you wake up and 1 just before sleep, and settle into an elevated state of practicality that's more suited to the responsible commander. Professor Pebcap's Miracle Elixir. We've not tested it yet, but we're sure it'll do the job just fine.
Attention, attention. Second technician Chris Forrester to the maintenance pylon. The vending machine has broken. I repeat. Second technician Forrester to the maintenance pylon. The vending machine has broken. Attention, attention. Medical officer to the maintenance pylon. Medical officer to the maintenance pylon.
Hello and welcome to Lave Radio.
Greetings and welcome to Lave Radio.
Greetings, Commanders.
Greetings, Commanders.
The show that talks about the universe of Elite
And the development of the computer game Elite 4, known as Elite Dangerous.
and the fantastic
Community that surrounds it.
Broadcast from a current Sidewinder and hosted by a vending machine technician.
A place of nonsense and innuendo for forum dads.
A self-contained podcast 2 hours long.
Transmitting to every corner of the galaxy.
It's even louder than me.
The hottest show this side of Dizzo.
The name of the place.
Lave Radio.
Lave Radio.
Lave Radio.
Lave Radio.
Greetings, Commanders, and welcome to episode 448 of Lave Radio, the show about the universe of Elite and the fantastic community that surrounds it. I'm your host, Commander Psykit, and joining me in the Orange Sidewinder bar for this episode are our head of health and safety, Commander Edelweiss, otherwise known as Ben Moss Woodward. Hello, my love.
Hello, my lovely. How are you doing?
Probably best not to ask, to be honest. And we also have our SLV Banksy himself, Alec Turner.
I'm back. I could have been at a barbecue. Woo! Happy Independence Day, Commanders.
Fucking treasonous bastards.
Wow. Good start. We do have a special guest joining us a little bit later for a specific section, but I will introduce them when they are here. If you wish to hang out with us today, Ben is in Open, but he's not at the Orange Sidewinder bar. Where are you, Ben?
I'm in Rianadi, maybe. 8C for maybe some kind of conjunction, collision, boominess or something. Although I don't think we're gonna. It's not actually due until we go just after we go off air. Unfortunately,
incredible.
Excellent
I love that
timing
for
there.
us.
I completely blame K. Ross for this. Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, sure.
Yeah,
sure. It definitely done just despite us.
Yeah, totally. But it is a damn pretty picture, I have to admit.
It's so beautiful.
There's a lovely ringed gas giant. There's something very
there three
big.
bodies in the sky there? I can see.
There's three bodies in the sky. There's a lovely ringed gas giant. There's a big blue inverted boob or something like that. I don't know. A big blue thing with a crater anyway. Possibly, maybe a mini Death Star or something. I don't know. Looking right in my face. And then just off in the distance, there's something small, a small black metallic ball by the looks of things. I don't know what that is yet.
And I've technical astronomic descriptions.
Yeah. Oh, and I've got a geyser. It's spewing water as we speak.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And I also found a massive hole, and I'm going to try and walk up to it because I can't fly there.
I will tell you right now, unprompted, as the titles were running, dear listeners who are on in our Discord stage, you will have heard Ben say, "That's a big hole," completely unwarranted without anybody else speaking, and it was glorious, and it was a soundbite I will definitely be taking. Thank you kindly. If you can't get in game, you can also join the Twitch chat channel, which you can access through laveradio.com/live, and clicking on live chat. You can also go to twitch.tv/Lave Radio. We are live in other places. If you know where those are, you will be able to find us. I ain't gonna list them. You're better than that. Let's start by finding out how people have been. Alec, are you feeling better? How are you doing, my lovely?
In a deep twist of fate, out of game, I've been tissue sampling. I've managed to get through 2 entire boxes of tissues. And no, before Ben asks, I have not been wanking myself to death. I spent the last 6 days blowing my nose.
I wasn't even going there and asking what you were blowing.
Yes, you were. Yeah, I was quite poorly. I am more or less recovered now, although my poor wife and the son have caught it. So
oh no,
the lurgy lives on. It's just one of those. Yeah, it's just one of those draining things, really.
Mm-hmm. You'll go blind.
Sorry.
You'll go blind.
Thank you. Yeah. So I slept a lot as well. The only thing I did do out of game that was fun, was quite fun to alleviate the monotony, is I went to see the new Indiana Jones film.
Ooh.
And I have to say, I don't know what is wrong with basically every single critic on the planet, but I thought it was flipping fantastic.
Okay.
It was weird. Like the day before, I'd stupidly read the reviews, or some reviews, Googled for some reviews, and they were, every single one of them were absolutely terrible. People hated the de-aging of Harrison Ford. They hated the plot. They hated his sidekick. They hated the ending. They hated everything. So I was braced for a sort of worse than Crystal Skull kind of film. Yeah, and the 2.5 hours flew by. I thought it was terrific.
I don't know, obviously, because I haven't seen it yet. But I've heard. I think I found this with a lot of films, actually, especially fan films or something like that, I guess I'd call it, where the critics are shitting all over the film, but the fans are going, "Yay, this is actually really good."
It's just fun. It's Indiana Jones
yeah.
versus the Nazis, and yeah, it's fun. I just don't know. I don't know. I guess I guess the motto is go with low expectations, and you'll probably love it. I don't know.
I suppose so, because you were braced for terrible, and you've come out excited. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, every minute I was thinking, this isn't that bad. This isn't that bad. This is quite good. I'm enjoying this. You know, yeah.
Have you managed to get up from your deathbed and do anything in game, or?
Yeah, well, in game, as some people might have seen, I've spent quite a lot of time docking SLFs with crashing ships in epic recreations of the docking sequence of Interstellar.
Okay.
which was jolly good fun, actually. Actually, I'll tell you what. I have a short statement to read, if I may, because having done my docking challenge, the Burr Pit were kind enough to feature it on their Witchbase News, and Burr made some offhand comment about the next thing I'd be doing would be the same challenge, but with no life support, the cabin on fire, crashing over an active AX combat zone, and a cockpit full of bees, which I sort of dismissed as a classic funny Burr witticism, until I discovered, and much to everyone's surprise, that there are actually bees in the game as a rare good. You can buy bees. So on that discovery, there was only one thing I could do. So I have spent the last 3 days attempting to fulfill Burr's pseudo challenge. And I would now like to read a formal statement, because I don't give up on things often, but I am sorry to report that I cannot, in all good conscience, continue with my efforts to fulfill Burr's challenge from last week's Witchbase News to perform a no time for caution SLF docking exercise in a burning ship over an active AX combat zone with life support turned off and a cockpit full of angry bees. Apart from anything else, too many innocent bees have already died in the attempt, 72 so far. Specific problems attempting this challenge were as follows. 1. The Corvette seems extremely reluctant to catch fire despite raising its temperature to well over 200% heat with silent running. A problem compounded by the fact that it's not possible to launch a ship-launched fighter with silent running, still active. 2. Despite there being a small number of still burning Thargoid invasion state ground sites available, none of them actually have any Thargoids present. 3. The small number of sites that are available all have a gravity of over 0.5 G, a gravity which is not conducive to the survival of a plummeting bee-filled Corvette, whose shields are off because of the aforementioned use of silent running to try and set the damn thing on fire. 4. Where the lack of oxygen and or 200% plus heat didn't kill the bees, the resultant fireball on the buildings below certainly did, on all 4 attempts. 5. The considerable distance between these sites and my apiarist at Vernadsky Dock in the Volcam system has made resupplying bees an excessively time-consuming exercise. Regretfully yours, Commander Alec Turner. Thank you for your time.
Wow. Well, at least you explored every avenue before finally admitting defeat.
I tried, and I don't often admit defeat, but yeah, that one beat me.
I have to admit, Alec, I was expecting you to read that in the style of Dr. Zeus.
Well, did you want it to rhyme as well?
I was wanting the rhyming and everything, yeah. And yeah, Katiana agrees with me. That is a big hole.
Okay, awesome. Ben, how you doing?
Apart from stumbling into random big holes, I've had precious little time in real life to do gamey things, but it was my wife's birthday last week, and she had a lovely birthday party, which basically invited pretty much everybody and their son to go and see it. It was lovely, and it was weird because I saw people who I've not seen for like over 10 years, and it's like, you know, I had this memory of sort of like my nieces and nephews, say, who were like, last time I think I saw them, they were in nappies and, so high, and now like they're teenagers drinking beer. And that was a little bit surreal. Oh, and I also found out I'm a great uncle, I think it is.
A great uncle, okay.
I think I'm a great uncle now.
You're just a mediocre uncle, actually. I'm so sorry.
Grimtish. So yeah, I was like, okay, that is a thing now. But it was a lot. Yeah, I think well, it was a lovely weekend, just sort of catching up with everybody and things. That was great. I have managed to buy a house.
Congratulations! Woohoo!
Well done.
Yeah, that I no longer have the threat of our landlord evicting us hanging over my neck like a sword of Damocles. I now just have the bank saying,
Yeah, I feel that. I hear that entirely.
Yeah. And the first thing, of course, we have to go and do is buy a boiler for our new house that we've lived in for the past 15 years. Because, of course, the landlord wouldn't go off and replace the boiler that's royally broken, seeing as he was just trying to sell the place. So I was like, yeah, thanks for that. Which means, like, for the past 2 months or something like that, we've had a very, very dodgy boiler. And he's like, yeah, I'm not doing anything with it because you're buying the place.
Awesome. So have you got a moving date?
We're not moving house. It's our house.
Oh, I see.
We're moving into our house.
I see. As one does. Right. Okay.
As one does, yes.
I didn't know that was the case either. So I'm glad.
Yeah. So we're basically we have bought the house we've been renting for the past years.
Oh my god!
Despite the fact
you don't have to do any.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That's like buying a house. I'm buying a house without any of the hassle of the packing and.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome.
The good news is, we spent most of last year basically doing the house up after receiving multiple assurances from the landlord, like, no, I've got no plans to sell the place.
And then once you'd done it up, he was like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to sell it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, thanks, you twat.
Brilliant. So you thought, right, Sodger, we'll buy it.
Basically, yeah.
Wow.
So it's all good, it's all awesome, and it's fine, and it's like, we have the place and it's ours. But that's also very scary, and it's like doing adulting and things.
Wild.
As opposed to looking at lots of moons and planets in the sky, which is fun.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed. I'm assuming then you said you didn't have that much time to get in game. I'm assuming that's like 0 time to get in game.
Yeah. Basically, I had enough time this evening after I dashed home from work to fly here and go, ooh, that's a big
hole. Okay.
Well, no, it was actually like when I was flying initially between this planet and that bluey one. I was like, oh, this looks like it could be fun, even if they don't sort of mush into each other.
Awesome.
How far away is this planet, Ben? It really does look awesome.
It's about 7 megameters when I was in my ship.
No, I meant from Sol to get to
it's in the bubble.
Oh,
it was
bloody hell.
It was about 9 jumps for me from Lave.
You don't happen to know the radius of the planet you're on, do you?
If I were in my SRV on my ship, I could find out, but I don't think. Can we find that out here?
Does the system map not tell you?
I don't know. Can I get to the system map from here?
Sorry, I appreciate this is great radio, but people might have already guessed that I'm curious about the possibility of circumnavigating this planet.
It looks lovely. It looks like it might be a bit big. I don't know.
I don't see any system maps here.
Do you not just have a key button to open system map?
Can you do that when you're...
Yeah!
Oh. I might... No. Okay, my key that's bound to open system map isn't opening the system.
Yeah, no, it's an on-foot thing, I think.
Oh, it's
Never
an
mind.
extra one. Okay. Well, I can go and do that. You talk amongst yourselves for a bit.
Okay, I've got an alternative plan for you, Ben. Could you pace it out for me?
Just walk around it, would you mind?
My big old finger and swivel.
Yeah, just go and have a little wander. That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
Okay, cool. Well, what have I been up to?
You had a quiet weekend, didn't you?
I've done loads of stuff this weekend. My back's still a bit broken, but we're getting there. We're literally taking baby steps because I can't take big paces because it makes my back hurt so much. What have I been up to? I'll start with in-game stuff. In-game stuff, we did a little bit of, I've done a little bit of mining, a little bit of missions in the home system, which worked far too well and put everything in the wrong position that it needed to be for the BGS. So I haven't picked up Elite again because I did too well at the things that I was wanting to do, and promptly saw that something was in the wrong place. Out of game, we had our lovely meetup on Saturday, which was awesome. It was really nice.
It looks like a lovely afternoon.
It was a beautiful place. They'd reserved like a massive area for us all to sit, and we all sort of like crowded around 2 tables, and folks came on and people just kept turning up. It was lovely, and Artie was also there, and he was such a good boy. I was so proud of him. He could have been the worst, and he only really barked at one person, who incidentally is the person who is taking the picture that you can currently see. He wasn't a big fan of like one of my best friends, but it was a really lovely afternoon full of wonderful people having a few drinks and a giggle. It just was that. I didn't stay until closing, but I know that some people did, and I feel both sorry for their wallets and their heads the following day because quite a few of them had travel. So yeah, it was really good fun. That happened. The other thing that happened over the weekend is I launched my D&D series, which, oh my god, why did that catch in my throat? Which is something that I've been working on for a really long time, working on getting the assets done, casting, and working on a whole series of different D&D things that I'm going to be putting on my channel going forwards, all under the Roll for Adventure bracket. I am so excited about it. I could legitimately burst, but the first episode of that is going to be live on July the 16th at 3 p.m. UK time. A group of level 1 characters. I've only announced one cast member so far, and it's Katie. So yeah, it's I'm super excited about it. We're currently in the process of announcing all of the cast members, and it was a big scary thing for me to do and put out there, and I've worked really hard on it. So hopefully, if you are at all interested in Dungeons and Dragons, or you've not even seen it before or anything like that, the first thing that we're doing is really episodical, so you can sort of drop in and out if you want to. Episodes will be going up on YouTube afterwards as well. It's every 2 weeks, and I'm so stoked for it. That's about it for what things that I have been doing. I've mostly been sat in After Effects working on assets and finishing off everything for it. That's about it. Yeah, it was it's really good. So let's move on to the dev news, and then we will move on to the community news, and the first thing that we'll do is bring in our special guest. Dev news wise, they are extending the summer livery sale in the Elite Dangerous Games store until July the 10th. I think that covers pretty much everything. I think and as far as like the liveries.
It actually does pretty much cover the dev news.
Well, I mean, no dev news means they're working on stuff and nothing's broken. So I'm happy with that. But yeah, it looks like it covers pretty much everything that's in the store at the moment. So cool, that's extended until the 10th of July. We also had our Galnet News Roundup, because they're doing that every 2 weeks now. Paul's back doing his Galnet News Roundup. Those are the dev things that came out this week.
Oh, there was a bit of late breaking
Oh,
news
oh,
today,
oh.
actually. Arthur Tolmie ate a big sandwich.
Wow.
That was on Twitter earlier today.
I don't know necessarily that that's dev news around Elite Dangerous Alec,
Well,
but
you know,
thank you.
we're obviously stretching this week, but
I mean, so we'll move on to the community news. When it is my absolute pleasure to introduce our special guest, Station Commander Alan Stroud.
Hi.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm all right. You sound like you've been busy.
I've been really busy. I've been really busy. It's a busier than usual week this week.
Yeah, that makes me sound tired. Makes me think I'm tired. But yeah, you know, I mean, it sounds certainly pretty full on.
Yeah, it's good. I'm excited. I'm excited about everything. I'm also excited about your news.
Well, I got lots of news. I mean, you know, the news you know about then is quite exciting. I had a book out last month, which is pretty exciting.
Fantastic.
The massive dictionary of fantasy literature, which is 250,000 words, and you have to take a mortgage out to buy a copy because it's very expensive. I was in Belfast for research last week, which I now get sent to conferences and workshops on the future challenges we'll face as a world in the next 30 or 40 years. This one was on kind of on terrorist events, which was interesting. And then the kind of big thing that I came on for tonight was my publisher has remastered the Lave Revolution album, which was a Kickstarter perk back when I ran the Kickstarter for the Lave Revolution book, and was featured. Some of the tracks were featured in Escape Velocity when Chris Jarvis was running that, and were the soundtrack to the audio drama of Lave Revolution. Now, what he's done is he's set it up so that it's going to be on Apple Music, and it is the forerunner to a completely new album, which is coming out a little bit later this year, which is connected to my Fractal series science fiction books. But as a sneak treat for everybody tonight, we've got track 1 of the Lave Revolution album, so you'll get that at the end of the show, which should be nice.
Amazing.
Can I ask, Alan, is that exclusive to Apple Music or other places?
It's going to start at Apple Music, and then it will distribute to other places. Apparently, it will. The first track will be available from the 14th of July. So you've got the remastered version tonight as an exclusive. So yeah, the first track will then be there on the 14th of July, and then the whole album will, to basically, if you pre-buy it or whatever, it basically the whole album then downloads automatically on the 28th of July. So, and that literally, I got told that at 7:30 this evening. So you can't get more on the bleeding edge than that.
We've never had really news.
No, it's never happened. This might be super nerdy. What sort of processes? What makes the remastered version different to the original version?
So it's interesting. And in part, I'm going to say I don't know.
That's fair. That's why I asked, because I didn't do it.
But the conversations that we've had, and he's got my publisher is a he's a book publisher. His name is Nick. Hi, Nick. He's listening tonight. He is a very, very accomplished musician in his own right, and a few times we've had a few conversations about stuff, and he's asked me about my process, and I've quite quickly recognised that I'm a bit more a little bit less able as a musician than he is. He is a little bit more knowledgeable about these things. However, the mastering that I do when I finish a music track is fairly straightforward. He has then worked a little bit of magic and wonder. The difference is basically in the balance quality when you listen. It just sounds bigger.
Yeah. Okay.
And just sounds, and when you're writing kind of orchestral or instrumental ambient science fiction music, if you can make something sound a little bit bigger, it goes a long way.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I definitely do. Again, I'm going to sound like someone who doesn't know anything about, and I kind of don't. But the full album, all of this is music written by you. Is that right?
Yeah. So I mean, there's no reason you should. I mean, 10 years ago, and it was 10 years ago, which
That's
is
wild.
just horrible, isn't it? So 10 years ago, I put these tracks together because we had Two Quiet Sons on the show about sort of episode 3, I think, episode 4, something like that. And we listened to their album, and I hadn't composed any music. I've sort of always dabbled and kept my synthesizers, and some days they were sort of packed up, and some days they were rigged up to a computer and stuff. And so I listened to Two Quiet Sons because they, we had an exclusive to preview some of their tracks, and I thought, you know what? Actually, I could go back to this. So I rebuilt my studio in the loft and just got cracking. And that was the point where, I composed the show music. So I composed the what was the intro and outro to Lave Radio at the time. And it was a point where, we were sort of in that middle of waiting for more things about the game and what the game music was going to be like. And so, I just went, well, I'll have a crack at this. I'll see what I can do. And, and really enjoyed just the process of getting back into, to composing. I've composed ever 1993, 1992, that was when I started writing music. So, I go through sort of bouts of not, and then coming back to it. And that really, having the opportunity to do that. And of course the Kickstarter as well then made it, because when you run a Kickstarter, you sit there and you go, what can I do? What can I do that people will like? What can I offer them? You know, and music
Like
was
the
a
stretch
was a
goals,
thing.
you mean, that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly that. Well, not just stretch goals, but also rewards, just general rewards. What things can I, I'm going to give you a book, but what other things can I do that are in my control? So yeah.
That's awesome. And it's all based on it's all based on the book specifically, or is it more ambient?
Yeah, so Chris used it in specific scenes. He used different tracks in specific scenes. So there are some moments that are, there's one track in there that there's a moment in the book where one of the ships is doing a catastrophic atmospheric sort of landing, but it isn't a landing, it's a crash. And when I was writing the book, I made a decision that the character blacked out, and because that seemed right, that they would, the stresses, the pressures were terrible, characters blacked out. So actually, the descent of the ship is a music track, and that's in the, so when I was writing, I basically went, this is how this, this is portrayed. So it has a very close relationship with the book, in that my music tends to be sort of, it tries to illustrate the story. That perhaps sounds a little weird in that it's obviously not pictures, but what it's trying to do is it's trying to get your imagination. It's trying to kick your imagination into imagining what's there and acting as a sort of adjunct. So I mean, the track you're going to listen to tonight, the first two bars, you'll know it's Elite immediately. It's the last track I composed for the album. It's a track that made me cry when I composed it, because that point we were going to get the game. We were, it was getting very, very close to, to moments where everything was going to be delivered and everything else. And so I sort of went back and went, okay, well, I need to connect to something that is the memory of what I played. So I think anybody who sort of has a connection to the original Elite game, immediately as that track starts, they will understand where that comes from. It shifts from that beginning into something else. And at the time, there was no representation of that particular music. Anyone who knows what I'm talking about, sorry for being cryptic, but there's a specific piece of music in the original Elite which most people will know what I'm talking about. So at the point in time when this track was composed and when it came out, there was no representation of that within Elite Dangerous. I know that there is a representation of that in Elite Dangerous now, but at the time there wasn't. So, for me, it was about sort of re-invoking that and kind of bringing that back and doing something a bit kind of synthy to it as well. Because I knew that Frontier, at that point, I knew that Frontier were going orchestral. So they've kind of gone, obviously with the soundtrack that's in the game, it's orchestral and it's got a bit of sort of synth and stuff to it, but it's mostly orchestral, whereas I went a bit more Vangelis, and I was quite happy to go a bit more Vangelis, which I'm a bit more comfortable with.
It's fascinating that your own music can have that effect on you, though, because I'm sure we all know there are certain bits of music from films or things that you that just get you like every time, even if you don't have the film in front of you.
So I've done.
And I've often sort of thought, I wonder if the composer of that bit of music, who must be so familiar with it, kind of still gets that from it. But
I did an article recently, actually, in Focus magazine about writing and composing music as a writer, and it's quite a strange thing because in some respects you kind of sit there and go, I'm listening to my own stuff. Why is this is a bit weird or a bit insular that I'm listening to my own stuff and enjoying listening to I mean, in the moment when you compose it, I've said this before, I will sit in the loft and conduct the rafters because my studio's in the loft. And so if I get something right, if it works, I'm ecstatic, in that moment of composition. But it's the most visceral thing ever. But the moment when, later, it is a bit strange, but there's kind of a slightly different relationship, but there's also some of the same relationship in that, I don't know about you, but for me, music also invokes moments. Invokes
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
The moment when I first heard X, or the moment when I, or that lovely moment when this, or that lovely moment when that. One example, REM. So Everybody Hurts. I was disappointed with my A-level results. I remember going off for a drive with somebody at the time, and that being the track that we listened to, and that. That almost transports you back to that moment, if that makes sense. So there is a similar kind of thing to some of these, because they can't not be profound, in that there was a lot, obviously there was a lot of emotion and connection, passion, into composing these things for that moment in time, and we were making some incredible stuff. Chris was transforming things, incredibly into audio drama. So it meant a lot, in that moment. And you can kind of, reignite the fire. You stamp on the sparks, don't you? And sort of see if it'll come back.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you when you've been writing Fractal, because I know you said you were bringing out the album, bringing out a new album as well. Do you find yourself when you've been writing the Fractal series, like getting to a certain point and going, I'm going to write some music around this particular point and making like a little mark or something in there?
Yeah, very much so. So, I mean, we've got, and this is, been talking about this for a little while now, but it's now starting to properly finalize. So I have 2 books in the Fractal series out. I've now got 6 short books coming out, episode books coming out from September onwards, and the music album, which is I think it's 12 tracks with 2 bonus tracks, if I remember rightly. So, and yeah, exactly that. You know, you basically either they kind of complement each other. So you either have that sort of relationship that I have with Lave Revolution, where there was this one track, Gallant Cremation. It's that scene, that's where it fits. Or you have these moments where you've written something and you've imagined it, and then the music kind of comes in and sort of brings something extra to that imaginative moment.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have someone come in if they choose to make an audio drama out of it, and they use the music, and you kind of go, "Wow, yeah, you found the synergy between this and this that I thought about, maybe instinctively I had an idea of, but I couldn't get it, and you nailed it." You know, so there's always someone else, you know, sort of coming in and welding these things together when the moment is right.
For sure. What's your favourite track on Lave Revolution?
So the one you're going to listen to.
Is it really awesome?
Yeah. So Return of the Elite is because it just breaks me because of what it meant to write it.
Yeah.
Although some of the others, I mean, Evasion is the one that everybody kind of says is probably the best thing I've done. And I went back and did Evasion 2 and Evasion 3 because they're quite. You can get in game and you can get in a fight or go into Super Cruise and you can chuck Evasion on and you're there. You know, that just pumps you along. That's great. But yeah, Return of the Elite is certainly the one that really gets me, which is why I went, you know, if we're going to sample anything tonight, we're going with that one.
Fantastic.
Because it's so elite, you know, in terms of what it is. Yeah.
Fan flipping tastic. Remind us when that's out again. Remind us when we get to listen to.
Okay, so previews will start on the 14th of July on Apple Music. The Apple Music full release is on the 28th. And this is the forerunner. So the remastering of the Elite Lave Revolution album is the forerunner to the Fractal album. I've had 10 years to get a bit better. I'm not saying that, you know, I love the Elite tracks. I think, you know, they were absolutely of a moment in my life. The Fractal tracks are slightly more orchestral. Because
Amazing.
I can do things with stuff that I couldn't do then. So they'll be due out later on this year, hopefully, and into next year. So yeah,
wonderful. Composition technology has improved wildly over the last 10 years, so I'm really excited to listen to them. That sounds really really cool. And when does the Fractals the 6 books? When do the 6 books come out?
Yeah, they should start in September. That's what I've been told.
They should start in September. Asterisks.
I have been, you know, I mean, I wrote pretty much all of them last summer, so I finished them sort of last October. So we've been kind of trying to, yeah. I mean, I think with every publisher, they're sort of trying to reset their windows and everything else in terms of getting back to, you know, the supply chains and everything. But you know, we're on it now, and it's all, and I would say the people I work with, I mean, they've been absolutely tremendously supportive of me throughout this process. So it's an incredibly wonderful and novel opportunity. No pun intended. But yes, they start in September, so that will be great. And then the music will sort of accompany the releases. I think Nick's planning to put some of the stuff out along with it as we go. But I've been sitting on quite a lot of music for quite a lot of time, and you know, wanting to be able to share stuff with people, but just a little bit longer. That's all we got to wait.
Wonderful. And getting all of your creativity out there, that's fantastic. I really look forward to it, Alan. thank you so much for coming and talking to us about that today. It's been lovely to chat to you. It feels like we never do this enough.
Yeah, quite all right. It's nice to have something to say, you know. I would do a bit more in game, but unfortunately now I think my computer is just about done with being able to play Elite at all. So you know, when the inflation rate goes down and when everyone manages to sort their their fixed rate mortgages out, maybe I can kind of cobble together something to upgrade the PC. Or who knows? I might sell some books. Then I can do that.
Who knows? Yeah, everybody buy Alan's book so he can play some Elite. That's the end goal, right? Surely.
Obviously the end goal.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming and talking to us, Alan. That's been fantastic. I feel like we should, by all means, feel free to stay around as well. If you want to hang around and come and chat and do stuff, more than happy for you to come and be here. It's no problem at all, obviously.
I will put some dots in the chat window if there is anything that you say in the next hour or so that I feel pertinent to comment on.
Fantastic. I cannot wait. Okay, so the community news, as we say, has been pretty slim this week. On the 4th of July, so from approximately 10:30, literally tonight. So if you're listening to this show tomorrow, it will have already happened. The two surface installations in Reynardi will be colliding. The Canon tried to ask for Frontier to do a CG rescuing the people who are on these stations, but unfortunately, I feel like that would be a little bit of a break of acknowledging that these two planets would be colliding, and then having to do
I
something
think they
with
sort
it.
of do. I've seen them feature like screenshots in their screenshots of the week thing that are clear, of things that are a little bit tricky, but so that they don't entirely turn a blind eye. But yeah, making a CG is a bit much, I think.
It would be like kind of admitting to it, and then everybody was fine and nothing was damaged and it was all good. It just feels a little disingenuous. But then we also have there's also as a reminder, the Canon Galactic Events calendar literally lists everything. There is a link to that in the show notes. Every single time that there is some planets that are about to collide will be written in the calendar.
Yeah, these sort of things happen quite a lot, actually. In fact, I think this particular one is quite regular, funnily enough. I think it was only a month or so since it happened. Couple of months maybe, I can't remember, but there's a lot. So if you miss this one, you can usually find something. You might have to fly a bit further than the bubble for the others, but there's always something.
Yeah, there's always something. Like I was when I looked at it the last time, I was really surprised as to just quite how many things are going on.
It's a big galaxy.
But it is a big galaxy. That's a very valid point that you make, Alec. We also, I had a quick look at EDSM. There is an exhibition launching on the 8th of July. It's Operation EHAM. It is I'm not saying what that is, but it's a Stellar Cartographers Guild exhibition. It doesn't look like it's super long. Estimated distance 41,000 light years. Looks quite fun. Looks like it might be fun to get involved with. If that is your jam, there's a link to that in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
I think what we will do now is hop over to a short break, and then when we come back, we'll look at the in-game events.
Get ready. LAVE Radio.
There's bargains at Etienne Dawn's Unspecified Meat Emporium. Etienne Dawn's Unspecified Meat Emporium haven't just been slicing carcasses, but also slicing their prices. All unspecified meat sausages now 2 for the price of 1. A pack of assorted meat steaks, now with 50% more meat at half the price. How about chops? Our surprising meat chops now also 50% off. And introducing our massive meat hamper. It's a family of 4. No, that should say feeds a family of 4, right?
Stick to the script, Claire. It says it's a family of 4.
Okay, I'll stick to the script.
Yeah, you do that.
It's a family of 4. Etty and Dawn's Unspecified Meat Emporium. Find us in the Lave Business Directory or visit us next to the station mortuary. Etty and Dawn's Unspecified Meat Emporium. You'll wonder how our prices are so low. Have you found yourself in a spot of bother with those Xenos messing up your backyard?
Oh, why are there Fargoids in my system?
Can't leave the house without fear of a hyperdiction?
Can't even get to work. Not that they've noticed, because everything's on fire there too.
Sick of the amount of time it takes to scrub the caustic damage from those hard-to-reach places?
Oh, fuck, oh, it fucking hurts, ow.
Introducing Dr. Pope's Caustic Burn Cream. Apply a few drops to the affected area and feel the euphoria of instant relief. After that, just wash the burn away.
It's like it was meant to happen.
It's so good, you can even use it on your ships.
Thanks, Dr. Pope. My ship smells brand new.
Dr. Pope's Caustic Burn Cream, the miracle that can happen. Side effects may include dizziness, constipation, an itching sensation, worship of an obviously aggressive false deity, death, and loss of sense of smell. Should you experience any of these symptoms, please contact your doctor immediately. Not Dr. Pope though, he's busy. And we're back. Oh, that was a lot of me that you heard during those adverts then. Excellent. Okay, before we talk about the in-game events that have happened this week, Alec, I know you wanted to touch on something that happened last week in the event.
I did, because I do listen to the show. And
You're the one then, okay.
I'm the one, yeah, it's me. So I know it's a bit disappointing.
We're sorry, Alec.
We don't really have anyone at all. It's just me. But yeah, the audience with the Preceptor Galnet article, I thought was fascinating. Particularly, the last paragraph about how, Sojane sort of saying most of the stuff that the Far God folks are talking about was gibberish, but there was this whole thing about insect-like tunnels and in their mega ships. This is fascinating. Now, you guys, I think I'm right in saying, sort of talked about that possibly being a prelude to walking around inside the Titan. Maybe not. You sort of touched on that, but maybe not. But the thing that I thought, the thing that sprung to my mind is these Far God followers, they've never been inside a Titan. They're just a bunch of fanatics that are idolizing something. So they have no idea what it's like inside the Titan. So whatever it is that they've done to the inside of their megaships is entirely their own fantasy.
Yeah.
So, and unless Frontier are kind of going to sweep that fact under the carpet a bit, then this can only be a prelude, in my mind, to walking around inside megaships, and I guess specifically the Far God megaship. And then what gets me is, why does it? Hang on, where's the sentence? There's a thing that it specifically talks about, like a secret door. They couldn't find a way.
One cultist argued that they hadn't found the secret doors. Is the direct
Yeah. Why drop that phrase into a Galnet article? It's just doing my head in. It's like, are we going to have some kind of thing where we get on a Far God megaship, sorry, and we get to walk around and we've got to find secret doors, which we wouldn't have found if Galnet hadn't given us this clue? I don't know. I just found this fascinating.
I think a lot of us are just excited about the premise of more of what sounds like potentially small corridors, things along those lines.
Yeah.
More Odyssey content,
Yeah.
more than anything else.
Yeah, I think you
agree
also
with
said,
you.
are we getting our hopes up too much? Maybe this is just fluff in a Galnet article. We have been there before, but
Yeah, well, we always get our hopes up. We always there's getting your hopes up, but like, there's nothing to stop you from reading that and going, oh, it seems to be pointing to something.
Do mega ships have landing pads? That's a stupid question. No, it's not a stupid question. They don't, do they?
I think they were. I feel like so some of them do. So like Glorious Prospect, things along those lines, they have landing pads that you can land on, and because the mega ships go to places sometimes
Oh, of
for
course they do.
CGs to be handed in and all of those.
The
Yeah.
nurses, obviously. Yeah, of course they do.
Some of them don't. The generation ships definitely don't, because they've got no one in them for the most part, or they're exploded, or there's terrible things happening. There are a few ships. There are like feel like the older mega ships that were in the game don't have those landing pads, but then the newer ones do. Some of them you can. I think some of them you can just sort of like go underneath the thinging, but not most of them. I think, as far as I'm aware, like the ones with cargo pod or carbo pod on the side.
So it really is possible. Then we really could land at this thing, and then all Frontier have got to do, all they've got to do is just design some corridors, and how hard can that be? And
I mean, it's probably really difficult, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not something that's happened. At some point.
Fingers crossed for that. Very interesting Galnet article.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing it back up. It's been lovely to talk about it again, because it's made me so excited, Alec.
Yeah.
So this week, what have we had? We have had the mining initiative began in Cocoa. This was this is a CG. A CG started for just mining items. It was by the federal court basically saying, hey, we know the Thargoid war's still going on, but we've got to make money. So we need to maintain everything so that we can continue to fund the war, basically. And this was the Federation being very specific about the things that they needed and the goods that they needed in order to maintain their fragile economy, apparently. But it was one of those ones where it specifies just mined items only. There wasn't another way for it, but I don't know that you can buy any of the items that they wanted. Either way.
Yeah, they introduced that ages ago, didn't they? The very first time they ever did a mining initiative, it didn't have that, and you could just buy the stuff, and then they were like, okay.
Yeah. And
it's quite cool that they can distinguish.
100%. That was the one time I logged on last week was to do, one of the two times I logged on was to do a day's worth of mining. I haven't mined for ages. It was great to get all of my iron back.
No, me neither. Did you do any core mining?
No, I hate core mining. I hate core mining with a passion.
Oh, what a shame. I love it.
No, there's a really, really good reason for it. I do a lot of, I do the majority of my time that I spend playing Elite Dangerous is spent while I'm streaming.
Yeah.
And I have a very, very passionate audience who are really, really helpful.
Okay. You're saying there's too much backseat mining going on.
Far too much backseat mining going on. To the
that one on the right, that's the big glowing one. That one.
I've never ever been so close to rage quitting Elite Dangerous than I have been on those particular days. It kind of sullied all of core mining for me, so I don't really touch it. And that's why. It looks fun. It looks really fun. I'd love to give it another go, but it's the stress of being told to look for certain things which just aren't obvious to me. So
yeah. Well, everyone's got their own opinion about what colour, but it's the ones that glow red with the black bits inside. Somebody else to go, no, they're more yellow and bright, and nobody.
It's the ones that look like a bit of popcorn.
No.
Is true. It is
the ones that look like a bit of popcorn. I'm fully aware of that. It's great and everything. But I was told on no more than 5 separate occasions to look for the LucasArts logo. And I was like, what the fuck have you been smoking? Because I get it. I get it from like a far... like if I'm detaching from it and going, this is what I have to find. Okay, it does resemble a little bit the LucasArts logo, but when I'm looking at a yellow thing on a blue background, which is all pixelated because I've done the thing, and then someone's yelling at me in chat going, look for the LucasArts logo, I'm just like, legitimately, that is not the LucasArts logo. And then to finish my stream and have them having DM'd the LucasArts logo to me, like that will help.
Wow. Wow, I'm gonna have to go and look at the LucasArts logo now. I've never heard this nonsense before.
I was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this to me? Anyway.
Amazing. I was asking because I wondered if the pulse wave scanner had been satisfactorily fixed, but never mind. I shall have to go and find out for myself.
Yeah, you're not finding out from me. Sorry, I had a bit of a rant there. My apologies. That was proper traumatizing for me. Okay.
Sorry, I've just looked at the LucasArts logo. Yeah, I see what people
you
mean.
See it?
I do see what people mean.
But
I mean, it's
when
ridiculous.
I didn't even know what that looked like.
It's completely stupid. It's ridiculous. But
Yeah.
I do see what they mean.
Like removed from it now, I totally see what they mean. But at the time, I was the most frustrated I have ever been at one particular time, and I'm not putting that lightly.
I mean, it also looks like a cat's bum crack, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like a bunch of scratches a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Okay, on the 30th of June, we had our Thargoid War update for June. I think this is the 8th iteration of this, the war reaching its 8th month, talking about the Pulse Wave Xeno scanner that Aegis released, a little bit about Azimuth Biotech, Aegis being, we did better than you, all of those kind of things, which is great. Again, another summary for maybe those commanders who are a little bit detached from the Thargoid War currently. I really like the fact that they're doing these, and these are like in-game articles. What do you guys think?
Ben? I love them, actually. I don't know why. I've got a funny feeling I didn't even look at the first couple, because you know when you look at your sort of Galnet list in game, and we used to have this in the past where there were different types of article that got published in Galnet, and there were articles that were kind of like, this has got story and is worth a read, and there were articles that were like, this is just a computer generated list of numbers and is completely tedious and uninteresting. And I think for some stupid reason I thought these Thargoid War updates were the latter, that they were just like statistics. And then when I actually read one, it's like, oh, this is really good. It's like proper writing and journalistic review of the war situation, and it's good stuff.
Awesome. What about you, Ben? Do you read much Galnet, Ben?
I generally watch Pete's summary, to be honest.
Fair.
Although now that they're sort of, I'll read Pete's summary. I love Paul's summary.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I guess that's a good thing that I could, if I wanted to, I could read them out of game, I guess. But no, generally I keep abreast of most of the things unless it's something that really grabs me.
Yeah.
Then I'll listen to the summary to keep abreast of it, and then if there's a story in the summary that grabs me, I go back to the original source.
Can I jump in on that Paul's
Absolutely.
summary thing, actually? Because I had a thought reading Paul's summary today. Do you think, how can I phrase this?
That he's a nonsense person? Yes, I do.
I'm sure he is, and it's very funny nonsense. But do you think he's aware of where these stories are going, or is briefed and make sure not to say certain things that are just not a correct interpretation of the Galnet news? Or do you think maybe somebody reviews them and just says, could you change that word because that's not true otherwise? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Can we interpret, I suppose what I'm really saying is, can we interpret anything from reading Paul's Galnet news and what he says and maybe what he doesn't say? Probably not.
I don't think we could.
I wouldn't feel confident in doing it, because I feel like we could probably look back at them and retroactively piece something together, but I don't think that necessarily means that he was clued in or accurate at the time. I'm sure he knows what's going on. But I think he is
he's not going to hint
enough to be able to do it. Yeah,
it's not the medium they would use to hint at anything.
For sure. This is just a little bit of fun for every couple of weeks, which is, you know, it's nice to see. I really like them.
Cool. I think that confirms my suspicions.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, on the 3rd of July, we had a Galnet article saying the Imperial Mother is in a medical emergency, which was huge news to me because I didn't know that the Imperial Mother still was alive. She was under medical supervision following a sudden illness. Then they're not sharing the illness. I don't know where this is going to go, whether this is going to come to any sort of fruition.
Baffled me, I must say. I'm not sure I was even aware of this character. Have we ever heard of this character before?
Now, I will come back to you on that because I imagine I'm going to get some sort of DM going. Yes, we are. We have heard of this character before. But I'm sure I'll get some more information. I've just been told off. I'm sure we'll get some more information in a bit. But she is she like there was some sort of problem, I think, with her event. Actually, I'm not clear on this at all in the slightest, but I'm sure I will get some information in a minute. She married the Emperor to legitimize Orissa's claim to the throne.
Right. Okay.
I don't know where this information has come from. I'm not. She's probably in the. Oh, that is juicy. Her first husband was the Emperor's best friend. It's probably in the Codex.
Crikey. It's like a soap opera.
It is like a soap opera. I feel like I've been told this by Katie before that the Imperial stuff reads like a soap opera. So she's in a medical emergency. Not sure what that's going to happen. If that is the case, if she dies, would that weaken Orissa's claims? Apparently not. I'm being told.
Can I interrupt
Yeah,
for a
absolutely.
moment? Because you've done this in the past. What the fuck is Ben doing?
I got blasted into space by a geyser.
Ah, right.
Oh.
That makes sense.
I'm not sure if I'm going down or not, or if I'm going up.
It's the title of a sex tape.
You'll get hit back down. You're going to get sandwiched in between two planets. This is going to be it.
No, you're walking down. You're walking down. Title of my sex tape.
Okay, sorry.
Wild.
Yes, I think I am going down.
Title of your follow-up sex tape. For those who may be listening, we're currently watching. Ben has been ejaculated into the air by a
Jesus
geezer. And is currently ever so slowly falling down to his death. One can only imagine.
I might make the landing, but I don't. Yeah, maybe.
Doing the very funny human in space animation.
It is. Yeah, it doesn't work so well. But on the bright side, I have been invited back into the team.
It is a strange animation, isn't it? Do you think Frontier didn't anticipate humans stepping into geezers?
Oh, and they must have done.
They must have.
There's no way on earth that they couldn't have assumed that was something that we would do.
Right. It's just a strange animation to represent a human floating in space. Seems a strange choice.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I've never been blasted into space by a geyser, nor have I spent however long this takes.
Bad, actually.
But it is a weird animation.
It's an odd running motion, but yeah, I'd like to see the arms windmilling a bit more. I think.
And some like I'm gonna die kind of stuff.
Yeah, my face doesn't even have the grimace expression on it. They could at least put that on, couldn't they?
It's like you're in mid-giant jump. It's like that's what the animation software is attempting to do at this point. It's thinking, well, he's left the ground and he hasn't landed yet, so I'm in mid-jump animation.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I
have
no idea.
He's just a floaty little guy at the moment. Okay, so sort of thanks to that break, I now have the information that I was after.
Oh, and also in chat, can we place our bets on whether Ben will survive the landing or not?
Well, he's definitely not going to survive the landing. I can tell you that for free. Okay, so yeah, the information that I need. She didn't marry the emperor to legitimize Arissa's claim to the throne. She there was a plan to marry, but Hengist was assassinated before that could take place. But he did. There was a DNA test that confirmed that Arissa was Hengist's daughter, so that is still accurate. And that's yeah. So I think it was an illegitimate relationship or like an affair between Hengist and Florence, and then or some kind of relationship between Hengist and Florence, but Florence was wedded to somebody else. I think that's the information that I'm getting. That's what I'm trying to interpret very quickly. Have you died, Ben?
I splattered.
Amazing.
Add that to the compilation of 101 amusing ways to die in Elite Dangerous.
Exactly. Incredible. So that was our Galnet news this week. Probably going to get more and more information coming from Katie, but I cannot read that fast. So I think in that case, it is that time of the week again.
Ooh.
Store alert!
And we're back. So nothing new in the store at the moment. However, we do have some news about the Carapace packs. They are reduced at the moment until the 10th of July alongside everything else. And I feel like we put these in because they look really cool and I really like them. I didn't put them in, so somebody else put these in the show notes.
I put them in because they basically Frontier were like, hey, you can even get the Carapace packs going cheap.
Hey, absolutely.
Okay, I'll take that.
You know the screenshots that they use to show these, particularly the first one in our show notes. I don't know what the sequence is for people on Twitch, but there's one particular one where you've got 4 ships and they're all sort of coming at you.
Mm-hmm.
And their engine trails converge beautifully on a single point all behind them. How do you think they make these screenshots?
Shenanigans and tomfoolery.
It's beautiful.
They're really good.
I love that screenshot.
I'd love for them to actually be flying in formation like this.
I mean, I'm trying to think of other ways of doing it, but it looks for all the world like they might have done. It's lovely. The way their vapor trails all converge on a single point is fantastic.
I wonder
Still
if
could have
there's
been
a way
rainbow vapor trails.
100%. Like, I mean,
Yes, of course.
We're out of Pride Month and into Disability Pride Month. I'm still holding out for rainbows. I'm not going to lie. But maybe there's a way that Frontier have to control multiple ships with one set of controls, so even if they just move them ever so slightly, it's all still going on the same rate. Probably that seems like something that they would easily be able to facilitate.
We know that they can use dev magic, as they call it, to place ships in very exact positions.
Yeah, but these all have trails as well.
Yeah, but if you place everything in an exact position and orientation, and then all you do is accelerate, maybe you'd get that?
Possibly.
I don't know.
Possibly. It looks really cool.
This is the kind of thing I think I'd ask somebody who knows about this stuff like Rini. I can see Rini knowing how to do this kind of magic.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to ask how difficult she thinks it would be. Speaking of Rini, actually, and this shot has just reminded me of a thing I was going to say in the right at the intro about what I've been up to this week. On Sunday, I hadn't sort of spotted this coming, but it was the Burr Pitt's 5th birthday anniversary.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe just last week. So the channel has been running 5 years now. And they did a little impromptu in-game meetup on one of the sort of many beautiful planets that Rini has in her sort of book of lovely places to go for community meetups. It was absolutely gorgeous. And we were really just sort of not formation flying, but sort of follow the leader flying while they did some filming. But there was a good 30 commanders in just such an astounding variety of ships and vapor trail colors, and we were just like for nearly 2 hours just doing follow the leader around these canyons and things.
It's so pretty being like any sort of like mass fly events. And
it's really good, isn't
things
it?
like that. I love them.
It's really good.
And like a mass fly, mass jump, all of that kind of stuff. It just reminds me how beautiful this game has. And also it's not just that, it's like meeting up with like a bunch of commanders in just like where on foot as well is really cool. Like all of it's super
really
cool.
Fun.
Like
we found another really interesting thing I didn't know. Now, how did this happen? So it was at the end. The Burr Pit are very much a PvE group, and their meetups are don't shoot each other kind of thing. But things got a bit silly at the end, and it was like, I'll go on then, all shoot Burr just for a laugh and that sort of thing. And one thing that happened that was fascinating, now how did this happen? Because there was a good 30 plus in the instance, I think somebody had got a landed ship and then tried to get out on foot, and the game didn't like it because there wasn't room in the instance for both their ship and their commander as separate entities. So what happened was that their on-foot commander never quite materialized, but the rest of us could see their ship, but their ship was in this sort of I suppose like a zombie state, so it looked like a perfectly normal ship, but it was completely invulnerable to fire. So everyone was shooting at it. So you got like 29 ships shooting at this. I think it was what's the one with the little flappy wings?
Keelback.
Keelback. That was it. It was like 29 ships all shooting everything they had at this little keelback. And I was in the SRV at that time, so I was up quite close to it. I have never seen so many bullet holes modelled in a ship. I mean, there were thousands. It was just
amazing.
It was like Swiss cheese.
Amazing.
The entire surface of this keelback was just riddled with bullet holes.
I tell you what, that's a really good segue to say we're going to take another little break for a moment, and when we come back, let's talk about more of our favorite multiplayer experiences.
Cool.
I have to. I don't think this planet is quite as pretty as the other one, despite the fact it's blue. Are you ready now?
Thanks. Can we have some adverts?
Lave Radio, broadcasting to every corner of the galaxy.
Space is vast, and pirates have needs just like anyone else. Introducing the Lonely Pirate Handbook, the ultimate resource for lonely pirates. Our guide covers the hot spots and not spots of interstellar space, from smugglers' dens to space station taverns, with helpful chapters such as how to be presentable in polite society, how to get rid of that nefarious rank, and my favorite, occasionally shower. Are your early advances often mistaken for attempts to rob or plunder?
Oh, I've come a long way for what's in your hold. Prepare to be boarded.
Frameshift charge detected.
Oh.
Buy today and receive the Lonely Pirates Chat-Up Guide for free.
I've got a very large hard point. Would you like to see my very large hard point?
You're so hot, you're making my temperature critical.
Lower your shields. I want to inspect the goods.
Come back to my place. I might let you touch my A-rated anaconda.
Are you smuggling illegal goods? Because you've got fine written all over you.
The Lonely Pirate's Handbook. Now available in all Anarchy bookstores. We'll teach you to loot anyone's heart.
We all know what it's like. You're busy managing your settlement when suddenly the alarms go off.
Oh no, not again.
That's right. A commander with a Federation naval rank of Admiral, an Imperial King no less, has landed in a ship worth over 100 million credits and is killing all your staff, while they look around for a 10 credit adhesive to glue an upgraded scope to their 100,000 credit assault rifle. They fly away with their super glue and you're left with a problem. How are you going to get your agricultural plant back up and running?
How am I going to get my plant up and running?
How are you going to find staff at short notice?
How am I going to find staff at short notice?
How are you going to deal with all those bodies?
There's bodies everywhere, and they've stained the carpet.
Wonder no longer. Call Aries Crime Scene Cleanup Services.
Hello, I'm Harry, from Harry's Mine. After a sudden increase in robberies and murders by commanders since 3307, I've gained valuable expertise in cleaning up bodies, recruiting new staff and restocking stationary lockers. Now you can benefit from my experience by signing up to our Crime Scene Cleanup Service subscription plan.
That's right. For only a small monthly fee, when your settlement alarms are activated, our rapid response cleanup crew will be dispatched, along with our patented Cadaver Scoop 150. The Cadaver Scoop 150 can be mounted to surface reconnaissance vehicles and skimmers to make tidying up your settlement a breeze.
Wow, the bodies are gone.
Our recruitment team has potential new employees on standby across the galaxy, ready to fill your vacant roles in security, logistics, administration, processing, and more.
My plant's operational again. Thanks, Aries Crime Scenes Cleanup Services.
Aries Crime Scene Cleanup Services. We'll have your settlement as good as new before the next ship arrives. Cadaver Scoop 150 disposal bags sold separately.
And we're back. Okay, so it was something that we asked as at the worst time when Twitter was all down, but also I just thought I'd check in with you folks as well. Asking what your favorite multiplayer experiences are. We've just had a lovely story from Alec about the Burr Pit Fly event. I've got a couple that are Burr Pit related. I've got a couple that aren't, but if either of you want to chime in, if there's any experiences that you've had playing with a group of folks in Elite.
Well then, I'll start. Oh no, go Ben. Go.
I'm going to actually have to go with something that happened, I guess, technically midway through Distant Worlds 2.
Okay.
When Commander Shan, if we all remember him, invited me into his ship, and then Shan and I were basically just flying around the surface of the planet that was set at the end of that was basically at the end point, and we'd done all the official, congratulations, you made it to Bagel Point thing, and then it was just a very special moment actually for Shan and I.
Yeah.
We're just flying around the planet, and he had a thing he wanted to do, and I was there as well, and it was just that was just a beautiful moment. I've got the obligatory all of the mass jumps that we did. I mean, it was epic, it was great, and it was absolutely hilarious seeing who among us will actually make it to the other side without being kicked off. Because obviously, we were all on Discord, as like, right, 3, 2, 1, jump. And then you just see like 100 of you leave the system and 5 people maybe make it. And that was great.
How many people do you think were in the biggest mass jump that you did?
I honestly, it felt like hundreds, but it wasn't.
Probably like 40 or something.
Probably about that.
I've heard stories of
Yeah.
trip digits, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know necessarily how true that is.
Yeah.
What I think they wound up doing for the biggest one that I was involved with was, okay, we were like, there were hundreds, but it was split across a bunch of different instances.
Yeah.
Right. You guys, you're all over an instance A, and you all wing up and group up with that lot, and you're in that channel, and then we'll do that one, we'll do that one, we'll do that one. And then all of the channel leaders were basically, right, we're all jumping now. And poor Dav was probably going, oh my God, what's going to happen? Although Dav was jumping with us, so hey, he was part of the problem. That was a beautiful thing. I guess the other thing would be the jaunt to Jax, where basically we were trying to coordinate a bunch of ships at the end to spell out J2J in using our ships as letters.
Right, okay.
And that was a lot of fun, purely because of it's like, right, just move yourself forward, backwards, up, down, left, and it was just madness. I think they're the ones that immediately jump out and stick with me.
Amazing. Go on then, Alec.
Yeah, there's so many. I didn't go on either of the really big expeditions, that the Distant Worlds or Distant Worlds 2. But, I suppose my first sort of multiplayer experiences were when I used to do a lot of fuel ratting. I mean, there's sort of typically just 2 of you, or maybe 3 of you, if a couple of rats fly out for a rescue. But they were always really special because they're certainly at the time typically pretty much brand new players that are running out of fuel, or very new to the game. And so often often I think when you play a multiplayer game, especially if you haven't maybe played them before, and particularly with a game like Elite where we're all so spread out, so you're not seeing people very often, I think for some people the very first time they actually see another commander is quite a, oh my God, I never realised this could actually happen kind of moment. So the idea of, sitting there in a video game and you've run out of fuel and your screen is black and it's quiet and you're thinking, is anybody really coming? And then a ship just suddenly drops into the instance and starts sending you fuel. It was always great. I used to love doing that.
I did the fuel ratting. Yeah, that really evokes some memories, because I did some fuel ratting back when Elite Dangerous was free on Epic, and
oh yeah, that was super busy, wasn't it?
Yeah, the rats were floundering. There was a lot of stuff going on, and I don't have the time to be able to devote to fuel ratting. I would love to be able to, but it's just not. It's just a pipe dream. But being able to have like those experiences of refueling other commanders are so special.
Yeah,
they really are.
Yeah, they are. The other one I was going to mention, well, 2 actually, was obviously for me the first great planetary expedition, the one I organised, where we drove SRVs around a planet for about a month. Some people did it a little bit quicker and some people took it a lot longer. But that was great because I sort of I knew technically it was possible. I'd already driven around a planet, so I knew that it worked, and that it would happily just keep generating more landscape until you ended up back where you started. But I didn't know how it would work as a social thing. Particularly with time zones and things. And what was really nice, and there weren't that many of us compared to the big expeditions. I think there was maybe 30 or 40. that certainly started out on that. And what was really nice was seeing people form up into little time zone specific groups. We were all strangers to each other largely at the beginning. A few people that knew each other, I suppose. But it was just such a sort of lovely, fun expedition, and seeing people slowly sort of form up and go, oh, I'm on at that time of night. Do you want to drive together for a bit? And you'd sort of log on and you'd be chatting on Discord, asking where people were, and they'd be, oh, I'm driving with so-and-so at the moment. And we'd just cross the North Pole or something. It was terrific.
That's really awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. I remember when I first started playing Elite, there was the Colonia initiative. So the delivering, what was it, like tourist guides or some kind of pamphlet or some shit. I can't even remember what it was now, but you're delivering something to Jack's because Jack's Station had just been discovered, something on those lines. Please correct me if I'm fully inaccurate with this, but we used to.
There was a couple of CGs.
Yeah.
One was to basically help fix and repair Jack's, and that was the one I took part in. And then you might be right, there was another one too.
It was travel guides.
Come out and see us.
It was a travel guides for setting up more populated systems.
So that's for actually forming up Colonia.
I'm being reliably informed by Kremen of Kremen's respite in Colonia. And that was a really interesting time for me. That was as someone who hadn't played a lot of hadn't really played any MMORPGs, anything along those lines, wasn't really fully aware of the nuance of playing a video game and working together like that. Even just getting the very sort of tail end of that, because it was just sort of like at the point where it was beginning to wrap up, and finding out about that and being able to just go and grab some travel guides and do the handover and working in that big group. And then at the other end, there were people in Colonia taking the travel guides and putting them back. And it was it was such a big undertaking, but it was so many commanders from all over the world working together to do these things. I thought that was really, really, really excellent.
Cool.
Other things that I have done huge props to an Odyssey content thing where I think it was our squadron's second birthday, I want to say, and we organized, it might be our first, second, it must be second. Time is illusion, lunchtime doubly so. We did this massive, we just found a war somewhere, a CZ somewhere, and I think there were like 20 of us all in a frontline ship, all at the frontline base at the Coriolis, going to the same spot and queuing in the Coriolis in all our individual front lines, because you can't have two men in a front line, no sir. And all of us flew out there, and the instancing was great, and it was just pick a side, any side, and just free for all, old school PvP, really evoked like 1.6 CS 1.6 fun. And that's probably the biggest laugh where the game has worked that I've experienced. We did a mass. I say a mass jump. It wasn't a mass jump. It was everybody was in one fleet carrier, and that fleet carrier jumped. And that was a burr pit thing. I think we had more people than seats, so people were sat on top of each other.
I remember that. Yeah, because everyone sort of de-instanced with the carrier and were left drifting. And
we watched some people just like fall out of the floor, and some of us went across. That was really, really fun as well. And like none of these are huge PvP moments or anything along those lines, with the exception of the shooting each other in a controlled CZ. But it's just so much fun. This game is so much fun.
Sure is. Shall we find out what sort of great multiplayer moments our community have had?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because it was genuinely the question that I asked on Twitter. During the Twitter moment, shall we say, when everything was...
what's going on?
Twitter's imploding at the moment, folks, so keep a lookout for the community questions. We'll retweet them a couple of times during the week, just in case it happens again. And Alec will also put them on the forums. Am I all right to say that actually live now?
I mean, as it happens, by a complete... Well, yes, I think a complete coincidence. There was a thread on the forums about multiplayer stuff, so I did just sort of say, hey folks, we've got this great question going on Twitter that if you want to chip in, and I posted the link, and then because I was completely sort of blissfully unaware of what Twitter was up to, and then everyone was going, I can't see it, I don't have an account, why are you using Twitter, etc., etc.
Because we used it because the forums are stupid.
Yeah, anyway, so I did repost it, but yeah, I'll have to think of a way. It's tricky. I mean, we do have a Lave Radio thread, but I think I'm literally the only person that reads it, and Ben studiously, or somebody studiously posts a link to the Lave Radio episode every week, and I studiously like it.
And I appreciate you liking it. Somebody's got to.
I think that's about it. So
you're the one. We told you, Alec. You're the one person.
It's me.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, so we asked this question. Shockbait on the forums says, I remember way back when I was a newbie pilot just after the epic giveaway. Hey, there were several crashed anacondas being discovered. I was heading out to the most recently discovered crash site, and when I arrived, I saw there was already 2 other commanders on the ground in SLVs. I went out of my way to fly around their SLVs so they wouldn't think I was hostile, and landed near their ships and deployed my own SLV. Between that time and arriving at the crash site, 5 more commanders arrived at the scene. All friendly, though I did get nervous when the FDL showed up, but they never shot at anyone. The best part was when I managed to get my scarabs stuck on some random crash debris, and just about the time I was preparing to ask for help, I noticed a hollow triangle approaching rapidly. Some other commander had witnessed my idiocy and struggled to get free and was already en route to ram me free. To this day, I don't know who that commander was, but if you're reading this, thanks, bud. That's awesome. I love that story.
Do you know what I like about that is it shows that thing, and I have heard this again and again, the sort of surprise at people being nice with Elite. Not just in multiplayer. In fact, I've seen it on Facebook, or when somebody joins a Facebook, one of the 2 or 3 big Elite Facebook groups asks a question and somebody actually answers it, or even on the forum, somebody actually answers it and answers it nicely.
Yeah,
I often see people going, people are actually nice in this game occasionally.
It's that thing that I said earlier, that people are really, really helpful.
Yeah,
it harks back to that. The only thing that people who play Elite want to have is more people playing Elite, and if people are struggling, then we will do what we can to help.
Absolutely.
And I love that. And I think the epic giveaway, wasn't that just before Christmas? So is Shockbait talking about the winking cat gifts?
I'm not sure.
I feel like
it was ages ago, the epic giveaway.
I feel like that's it. That's the same. I feel like that's the right timeline.
Could be.
Amazing.
Nice.
Incredible. I love it. Now we have Epaphras, who was with Nikki Dangerous doing an on-foot mission. This is a sentence which starts amazingly as it is. I was distracting an NPC while Nikki sneaked up behind them to zap them in the bum. This sounds like Nikki. Just as she charged the overload tool, the NPC moved and I got zapped in the nuts instead. It was so hilarious. Oh, I love that. I should imagine there's a clip of that.
That's excellent. Yeah, we're just saying we haven't got clips of all these, so it's really funny.
That's awesome.
That's cool, because I was asking about whether you could zap people in the back before last week or the week before. So you could zap them in the front as well.
It's equal opportunities, both front and back.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Katiana says, when we had the birthday celebrations for the squadron and found a random war and fought each other for hours, that is the one that I'm talking about. Old school FPS styles, just ace. It really was. Incidentally, Katie's the only cast member that I've announced so far for my thing. But there'll be more of those. Anyway,
Did you take sides in this then?
Okay, so the first thing that we did was it was just everybody free for all, pick a side, and then one side dominated.
Right.
So we were all in Discord, we were all in voice, and I looked down the list and I made snap decisions based on who was there. I didn't at all go like you were going to this team, you were going to that team. I literally told them who to assign themselves to, and then it got interesting. then it became more of like a tricky battle after people had picked their own, because it was properly free for all. So some people were in fully grade 5 stuff and some people were just in grade 1. I've been talking about doing it again for a really long time, but I've been really busy.
Sounds great. Alan, did you want to chip in on this one?
That was what I was going to say.
Yeah, so I was gonna sort of give a shout out back to the alpha. So when we had the instances of sort of testing areas, and prior to us having a space station to get into, we had a sort of team v team battle over some fleet ships, which was really, really good. And there was one point where we as a crew basically we did an episode, and then I think we all got together and went in there on one side in that, which was great fun, So that was myself, John, Foz, and Grant, I think, actually, who did that. But then we had I loved beam weapons, absolutely loved beam weapons, because I could snipe using beam weapons, and they were massively overpowered in the play test. So Colin, I think at least once, maybe several other people might have been on the receiving end of a little sidewinder popping up from behind an asteroid and just beaming the crap out of somebody.
Amazing.
In the asteroid, which I kind of felt that when we were doing the alpha and play testing, every piece of PvP was legitimate. Every piece of abusive PvP was legitimate, because you were kind of testing the game and it was all a laugh.
Sure.
I'm
you
kidding
remind
you,
me
I'm testing the game.
Am I? Because I wasn't in the beta. I only joined it like a month before the game came out. But am I right in thinking that there were a few times during the development beta phase where there were wipes of the server, and everyone used to have a massive free for all the day before the wipe?
I don't remember, because this was alpha. For me it was because I didn't really do any kind of build up of my character, build up of my, my commander, as it were. I basically just came in and blasted around in a sidewinder until such point as there was a full game. So I probably, if there were wipes like that in beta, then I've probably missed them. They've been wiped from my memory. So clearly my brain was wiped at the same time.
I think if I remember correctly, in the alpha, when we had the different scenarios like ethics and credits, etc., we didn't have wipes, because essentially every time you went in was a new game, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. There was nothing to gain. You were basically in there to just fly around and shoot people.
Yeah, but once we had the pill and then the bubble. I think there were a couple of little wipes, and actually I know there were wipes because I know that Colin was pissed off because he wasn't doing anything in the gamma because he thought it was going to be another wipe before it went into the real thing. So I know there were definitely wipes there. And actually, just talking about the alpha reminded me. As I said a couple of seconds ago, the alpha was a bunch of different scenarios. And you selected which scenario you wanted to log into from the main menu. But 2 of the scenarios were actually close enough that if you went into one and a friend went into another one, you could essentially you could point at where you've kind of figured out roughly you should be and fly. I don't even think there was super cruise.
There wasn't. There was no super cruise.
It must have been a normal place.
No
You
way.
could actually
So
fly
these scenarios were in real space, but not actually that far from each other. So you could
Exactly.
actually fly between. That's hilarious. I love
That's
that.
wonderful.
We could actually fly from one scenario to the other and then meet up in the middle.
Brilliant.
Which I think that kind of gave me the whole. Okay, this is actually a big one universe kind of game.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Yeah, that was epic. I miss those scenarios. They were fun. Yeah. And of course, you have the obligatory. Let's go and dump 50 bajillion tons of bio wastes.
Obviously.
Purely for testing purposes before they went off and deleted things after you've ejected 20 canisters or something like that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. We have Commander Andrew Johnson. He says, loving playing in multiplayer, especially on FTZs. Highlight was a commander team. I'll say that again. Highlight was a commander teammate jumping on an enemy dropship and be dropped back into the battle, but on the opposite side to the rest of us. Oh, elite, never change. We have Seraphin, who says, I do love multi-crew for all its tech faults. I most recently used it to get a friend who only occasionally jumps into Elite into Xeno combat by becoming my gunner. We flew in a squad action and he got to experience all the fun without having to spend all the grind time.
That's pretty cool, actually, isn't it? I don't think multi-crew gets... I could be wrong. I don't think it gets used very much, but it's nice to hear.
It's lovely to hear when people use it and it's successful. I think it still needs work. I'd love it to be that little tiny bit more reliable. And then I think people would use it. I'd love to. I know my sister isn't going to grind to get to the center of a Maelstrom and see a Titan. I'd love to take her to go and
I wish there was a better way of advertising what you're doing, so Titan's a great example, actually. If I'm in the Titan and I happen to be in a multi-crew compatible ship, I'd love to be able to just put out a system-wide thing somehow that says, hey, I'm in this environment, if anyone wants to jump in my ship and come out.
That would be really, really useful. Cohorn, he says, my highlight was one-time multi-crew with my friend worked out without bugs of the game crashing. There we go, there's an idea. Was a fun time dogfighting in ship launch fighters. Zach Smash says, what a name. Big shout out to Zach right now. Joining the game back in 2017 and watching an old school friend who, like me, was crazy about the original Elite back in 85-86, leaving a space station to meet me for the very first time. My long gone 15-year-old schoolboy self was simply grinning a huge wow.
Yeah.
I think that's lovely.
Yeah.
Peter Ellis was succinct and said power play. Tweaked 74 says too many to count through their 7,000 hours. They miss those good old days. No. We have
still play.
You can still play. 7K hours. That's nothing.
He's on console. I can't remember. He might have been on console.
I think he. I don't know. The Dower Scott, Chris Mark 4, says the massive queuing system that formed outside the station when Psykit had a mass frontline stream. The frontline was a lot of fun too. Oh, you've never seen queues like it. It was amazing. I think I've got screenshots of it somewhere. Then John Le Griffin, he was in chat, said, some of my squadron and I went to the Crystal Shard system. I borrowed an SRV from Commander Ninja Space Unicorn ship. I disembarked from the SRV to scan a few plants, turned around to get back in the SRV, but gravity seemed to not apply to it and it was floating off slowly.
I've never seen that. That's really funny.
That sounds amazing. And I will just read out what Terakov has just put in in the Lave Station Bar chat on our Discord, saying that most of my multiplayer in Elite has been fuel ratting. The experience that stands out to me was a code red, client on emergency O2, for those who don't know, rescue. With the client logged out of game, myself and another rat flew to a bearing where the client was, and it appeared the client was near a planet. We logged the client back in, and myself and the other rat dropped the client, only to find that due to the client's position, we both instanced at about 40 km away. We boosted as hard as we could, knowing that the client could only have a few seconds of oxygen left, and eventually I got a limpet of fuel to the client. In the post-rescue debrief chat, I inquired how low the O2 counter got. Just 1 second was the reply.
Brilliant.
I was physically shaking for several minutes after hearing that.
Proper James Bond Mission Impossible stuff.
That
counter literally
bum, 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 bum. I imagine hearing the music. That is fantastic. What a story as well. Like these games. This friggin' game. What an absolute.
Yeah, I was just reminded of another one. I mean, there's so many, but I was reminded of another one. This was way back. I guess I don't know, maybe 6 months after Horizons had launched, I suppose. And I was driving the SRV with another guy. I think it was before I'd done any big planetary circumnavigations, but we were driving along together, just on a bit like Ben was earlier, actually on the edge of a sort of gorgeous, amazing crater or something like that. And we spotted, I don't know if they still do it, but we spotted 3 NPC ships. I think they might all have been MP Anacondas.
Okay, yeah.
Sort of hovering at this strange 45-degree angle. Do you remember they used to do that? Maybe they still do. You'd occasionally find NPCs and they're just sort of stuck and hovering.
Like a little formation of 3 that kind of just sticks
I suppose
somewhere.
so, but the nose is kind of down very notably at like 45 degrees or something. Anyway, so they were hovering over this massive drop-off. I mean, it just went down for miles. It's the horizons, really big canyons and mountains and things.
Yeah.
And we were driving up on the top. And they were tantalizingly close. And it was like, yeah, I reckon if I take a run up, I can jump across to that anaconda. So the guy I was with sort of positioned himself to film it on the edge of the cliff, and then I sort of drove back and took this massive run up and took off. And I was literally I judged it just perfectly. And there was, I was arcing back down and was within, I don't know, maybe like 20 feet of landing on this anaconda. And this bloody NPC literally just woke up at that moment and took off. So I sailed past where he used to be and just kept going down and down and down and down.
Do you think you would have made it?
Sorry?
You think you
I
would have made it?
I totally would have made it.
Oh, man!
The NPC just buggered off at the exact instance.
That's such a kick in the bollocks!
It was so funny. The two of us were just pissing ourselves laughing for ages after that. Because it took me like half an hour to scramble all the way back up from the depths to which I'd plummeted. Hilarious.
Amazing. So we will put another question up on Twitter. What I will also endeavor to do is also put it in Discord as well, in the Lave bar, so if people want to reply to it, they can reply to it there too. And maybe if we can find somewhere to put it on the forums, we'll put it there too.
Yeah.
But we'll do what we can to try and share it, because that's been lovely having this little bit of nostalgia. Also, while I'm here, big shout out to Scorb as well. Scorb organizes some amazing group events, like Scorb streams on a Sunday night. Commander Scorbius, his streams on a Sunday night, amazing group events. There's a lot of streamers do wonderful, like the Finance Fridays, all of those kind of things. If you want to get involved with group activities, there is a lot going on, despite what the community calendar would have you think.
In fact, if I can just briefly chip in on that, if anyone, I won't put out any contact details, but if anyone is knows sort of Ascorbius on Twitter, or I guess other means of contact, he's put out a shout out at the moment. He's looking for footage of burning settlements. I think external camera footage of.
I have some of that. I need to. Thank you for reminding me. I need to send him that because I took some
Sure,
for the Dr. Pope stuff.
If anyone's got any really good footage of burning settlements, then Ascorbius would like to have them.
Fantastic. I think then we will move on to the shout outs, and then I'll bring Alan back in to introduce his track. So our sister station, Hutton Orbital Radio, broadcasts on Thursdays from 8:30 p.m. UK time. You can tune in at twitch.tv/Hutton Orbital Truckers, or for just the audio at radio.forthemug.com. For the discerning commander who likes a bit of CQC action, you can check out the CQC Discord at discord.me/Elite Dangerous CQC. I believe also that issue is still up that Colin talks about, but best talking to Colin about that and not me because I don't know 100% what it is. We're also giving shout outs to the following Elite Dangerous podcasts which have appeared over the last year or are standard regular contributors. There is the Guard Frequency, who do other space games, and Loose Screws. Following this show, we will have the latest Galnet News Digest as provided by Commander Wotherspoon and Commander Beetlejude. And thank you to all of those who have chipped in on Twitch chat, who have answered all questions and all of that nonsense. Our in-game and also our in-game commanders. Ben, who have you run into?
That would be William Solo and Siberius. They've both had the joy, shall we say, of running into me and not getting squished by a planet, but we found some people to shoot at instead.
I mean that's the joy in itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Incredible. Special thanks to Commander Takoto, JM Trax, and Alan Stroud, who created the music used on the show. That's it for another episode of Lave Radio. If you would like to get in touch with the show, you can find contact links in the home contact us menu of the laveradio.com website. Do let us know if you have any questions or if there's anything that you'd like us to discuss in a future episode. Lave Radio is recorded live on a Tuesday evening at 8:30 p.m. and streamed out at laveradio.com/live. Thank you to Alec.
Thank you, Claire. Good night, everyone.
You
or good
are
morning,
welcome.
Or good afternoon.
Whatever time it is, it's fine. Thank you very much to Ben.
Cheers, Claire. Have a good one.
And special thanks to today's tech specialist, Commander Ventura.
You're welcome.
Incredible. Alan, thank you so much for coming and joining us today. Take us out, my lovely.
So, just for those of you who perhaps are having that little bit of memory and thinking back about all your wonderful adventures in Elite Dangerous, in Frontier, and in Frontier First Encounters, here is Return of the Elite, which is the first track on the Lave Revolution album. And it is beautifully remastered by Flametree Publishing, Flametree Press, who have done all of their magic on what's there. So a special thank you to Nick Wells for all his efforts on doing that. Here we go.
Galnet News Update, 4th of July, 3309. The B and C moons of gas giant Ryanardi 8 are about to collide, bringing potential flatness to the inhabitants of two settlements. It looks like Sosa Biological, which is in the middle of an unpleasant internecine squabble, will be spared a direct hit from Ryanardi 8A. However, Data Biological Forum, a small establishment consisting of a handful of researchers and a rather larger number of armed guards, seems like it might be pretty close to ground zero for the collision, which is due to start around 10 p.m. Galactic Standard Time on Tuesday the 4th of July, although it's probably best to be there a little early. We have sources that have informed us that Commander LCU No Fool Like One has been able to access the bedrooms on Data Biological Forum using an e-breach, though we're not quite sure why. This time, the moons are only going to graze each other, unlike the previous collision, which was very close to Sosa, without causing any actual damage. If Data gets splattered, it should be a night to remember for all the residents.
I could murder a cup of tea. Yorkshire Gold, if you have it. Double Yorkshire Gold. And if you don't have it, you're dead. Lave Radio, broadcasting to every corner of the galaxy.